It's 2 a.m. and I have work in a few hours. I told myself I'd sleep earlier tonight, and I went to bed before midnight, but somehow I'm staring at the ceiling as my alarm clock silently ticks beside me. Somehow, I find myself always ending up here, even with the lights off, even without a phone in my hand, even with my eye mask on. My mind just won't quiet down. And it's not like I didn't even try. I actually tried to do things properly tonight. I got into bed earlier than usual, told myself this would be one of those nights where I finally fix my sleep schedule, where I just close my eyes and drift off like it's easy. But instead, I'm here again, fully awake, thinking about things I didn't plan on thinking about, almost like my brain was just waiting for everything to slow down so it could finally say everything it's been holding in. Maybe you've been here like I have far too many times, where it's not even one specific thing bothering you, but more of this underlying feeling of uneasiness. Sometimes it's the future, the uncertainty of it, the fact that there are things coming that you're not fully prepared for. Other times it's the past, replaying moments that already happened, things of regret, things you wish you'd said differently, handled better, or maybe even things that didn't seem like a big deal at the time, but you suddenly feel the weight of now. What makes it strange is that during the day, none of this feels as loud. We're moving, we're occupied, we've got responsibilities, distractions, things that demand our attention. There's always something in front of us, something pulling us forward, so we don't really stop long enough to notice what's going on underneath. But at night, when everything quiets down and there's nothing left to focus on, it's like all of those thoughts finally surface and catch up at the exact same time. I know that's how it works for me. And it's not necessarily organized thoughts either. It's not like your brain picks one thing and works through it calmly. It's everything at once, layered on top of each other. You're thinking about something small, like a conversation earlier, and then that somehow connects to something bigger, like where you're at in life. And then that turns into thinking about what you're doing next month, next year, and before you know it, you're lying there trying to process your entire life at 2 a.m. in the morning when all you wanted to do was sleep. I catch myself doing these small things that don't really make sense, like checking the time even though I know it's only going to stress me out more, or turning over again and adjusting my position like there's some perfect way to lie down that's suddenly going to make everything click and my mind just shut off. Sometimes I'll even close my eyes harder or open them and blink, like if I just try a little more, sleep will come, but it never really works like that. And yeah, I'll admit it. Sometimes I reach for my phone, thinking maybe I just need a distraction, something to break the cycle a bit. It might help for a couple minutes, give me something else to focus on instead of my thoughts, but as soon as I put it down, everything just comes back. Not louder, not worse, just still there, like it never really left. On these nights, over time, I've stopped trying to completely fight it because that usually just makes it more frustrating. When I notice I'm stuck in that loop, I kind of just let myself stay there and think it through. Not in a way where I'm spiraling deeper, but more like I'm acknowledging that this is where my mind is at right now. All the unfinished thoughts, all the things I've been putting off thinking about, all the uncertainty that doesn't really have a clear answer yet. I just let it exist without trying to immediately resolve it. And I've realized that not all of these thoughts are equal. Some of them are just noise, things that feel important in the moment but probably won't matter as much later. But some of them stick a little longer, and those are usually the ones that have been sitting somewhere in the background for a while. I don't always know what to do with these thoughts, and I don't always get clarity in that moment. But there's something about at least recognizing them and calling them out that makes it feel a little less overwhelming. Sometimes, if I can, I try to guide my thoughts slightly, not by forcing them away, but by shifting how I'm looking at them. Instead of letting everything feel like pressure, I might think about one small thing I can do the next day, something small and manageable. Or I'll remind myself that not everything needs to be figured out right now, even if my brain is acting like it does. Other times, I don't even try to change the thoughts, I just notice where I am, the quiet of the room, the fact that the world is still and I'm just lying here in it. It doesn't fix the problem, and I don't think it's supposed to. The thoughts don't disappear, and I don't suddenly feel like everything is solved. But I can say that it does take away that feeling that I'm fighting against myself, like I'm supposed to have control over every thought that shows up. And I think that's something I've slowly started to accept, that there's always going to be something left unresolved. There's always going to be things we haven't figured out yet, things we wish we handled differently, things that are waiting for us in the future that we can't yet fully prepare for. There isn't really a version of life where all the loose ends are tied up neatly and my mind just goes completely quiet every night, as much as I wish it would. There are always going to be stones left unturned, things left hanging, questions without clear answers, and nights like this just have a way of bringing all of that to the surface at once. And maybe that's why it feels so intense, because it's not just one thing, it's everything we've been carrying showing up all at once when we finally stop moving. So if you're here right now like I am, lying in bed, going through something similar, feeling like your mind just won't slow down no matter what you do, I don't think it means you're doing anything wrong. It doesn't mean you're behind or that you've somehow failed to figure things out the way everyone else has. It just means you're in one of those moments where everything is a little more visible than usual. And maybe instead of trying to force it to stop or getting frustrated that it's happening again, we should just let it be what it is for a little while. Not forever, not in a way where we get stuck in, but just enough to acknowledge that this is part of the experience too. Because whether or not we figure out everything tonight, morning is still going to come. The alarm is still going to go off, the day is still going to start, and we're still going to move forward the way we always do. And somehow, even after nights like these, we manage. So for now, just lying here in the quiet with all these thoughts that don't fully make sense and don't fully need to, maybe that's enough. Maybe it doesn't need to be solved or fixed or quieted down completely. Maybe it's just one of those nights where we're a little more aware, a little more in our own head, and that's just part of being here, part of being human, part of being alive. And I think over time, being in moments like this, I start to realize that even if I can't completely control my thoughts, I can at least nudge them in the direction I want, at least a little bit. Not forcefully, not in a way where I'm pretending everything is okay when it's not, but just enough to shift where my attention goes to for a moment. Because when everything is hitting at once, it's easy for your mind to lean towards the heavier side of things. The uncertainty, the pressure, the things that feel unfinished or unclear. That's usually where my mind goes first, and it makes sense because those are the things that feel the most urgent. But I find that if I stay there too long, it starts to feel like that's all there is. So sometimes, without really overthinking it, I'll just try to redirect a small part of my attention. Not all of it, just a little. I'll think about something simple that I'm grateful for, like my cat. Something real, something in my life that I just don't give enough credit to during the day. It doesn't even have to be anything big. Sometimes it's just the fact that I made it through the day, or I have people that I can talk to, or even just having a place to lie down like this in a quiet room where I can actually think. Sometimes it's a luxury that I take for granted. And it doesn't suddenly cancel out everything else I'm feeling. The uncertainty is still there, the unanswered questions are still there, the things I need to figure out are still there. But I find that it changes the weight of it, even if it's just slightly. It makes me feel like everything isn't stacked on one side anymore. It's like instead of being completely pulled into everything that feels wrong or unfinished, there's at least a small part of me that's grounded in something steady. Something that reminds me that not everything is certain, not everything is falling apart, and not everything needs to be figured out right now. And I think that's all it really is. Not trying to escape the thoughts, not trying to silence them, but just making sure they don't all pull in the same direction. Giving yourself something else to hold on to, even if it's small, even if it feels almost insignificant in the moment. Because when you're lying there in the middle of the night, it's so easy to feel like everything is up in the air. But even in that, there are still things that are real, things that are steady, things that are good, even if we don't always notice them right away. And sometimes, I find that just reminding myself of this, even quietly, even briefly, is enough to make the whole thing feel a little lighter. Not solved, not fixed, just a little easier to sit with. And I think that's the part that matters more than we realize. It's not about turning the night into something peaceful or perfect, or suddenly feeling okay about everything that was bothering us 5 minutes ago. It's just about not letting all of our thoughts lean in one direction, not letting everything feel heavy at once. Because when even a small part of your mind shifts, even when a little bit of your attention moves towards something steady, something real, it changes how the rest of it feels. Not completely, but enough. Enough to remind you that this moment, as overwhelming as it may seem, isn't the full picture. And maybe that's all we're really doing here. Not solving, not fixing, not forcing anything to change. Just learning how to sit in it without letting it consume us entirely. If you made it to the end of this video, I want to sincerely thank you. It's not very often that people listen to my thoughts when I'm trying to fall asleep. Thanks for watching, Rardo, and I hope to see you in the next video.